kind of a Freudian slip. That will be two of us.
All right, Stochastic, here we go. It's your old pal EMac coming to you on a Saturday night here. We're going to talk a little baseball. NBA is about to tip off with Game 3. They've got Game 4 tonight. That is going to be must-watch TV between the Denver Nuggets and the Los Angeles Lakers. If you guys are not already watching on playback, you're missing out. Totally free over there on the Stochastic playback. I will drop the link into chat here in just a sec. But the fun thing about that is there are no commercials. You get the in-game entertainment, even on the national feed. So that's been kind of fun. I'll drop that in there. But yeah, that's free to everybody. Just come on in. We're also broadcasting the show over there today. And that is where we'll be doing. Well, today we may not. Let's not do screen shares over there since they are watching the game, Mike. But we'll normally, when there's not a game on, we're running the screen shares over there. So that's the little feature for those of you that have not figured that part out yet. But let's kind of slide into the slate here. Everybody's doing it slightly different. You've got Yahoo going with the 4-game slate at 7 o'clock. You've got FanDuel going with the 5-game slate at 6:40. They are skipping the second game of the doubleheader between the Miami Marlins and the Chicago Cubs. DraftKings is including it, but they're going with the 7 o'clock game. So we have two differing 5-game slates here. We'll talk pitchers, we'll talk stacks, and we'll answer questions. Matt, how have you been? Did you make millions of dollars since I last talked to you?
I've been good, but no, I didn't.
Not
so
that
I
good.
haven't been that. Yeah, clearly maybe not good. I like to feel like if no news is good news over in my household. So yeah, I'm good. Definitely no millions. It's been a good week though. I've been close, so I'm excited to get on here and talk this night slate with you.
Good deal. Good deal. Yeah, we just put our Virginia house on the market. So come on, somebody please give us an offer this weekend. That would be nice. One less thing. I don't want to be stuck here with 3 mortgages. That would not be fun. But let's talk a little baseball here. A couple things that you guys need to know. 1, we are sponsored by Sleeper. 2, when you come in through the deposit link in the YouTube description below us, I can get that into the chat as well. You will get up to a $500 deposit match on that first deposit. That is something that is not common pretty much anywhere. So you want to take advantage of those wherever you can. So I will drop that in there. Let's put that splash landing page right there. And you guys are off and running. So looking at the slate, let's kind of set aside here Shota Imanaga, since we'll just talk about him first. He's only on the DraftKings slate, but he is someone that at some point he's going to allow his first run of the season, Matt. That's probably going to happen tonight. But otherwise, the rookie is, I think he's right around 30 years old. He started out at age 22 in the Japanese leagues. So he is a savvy pitcher, got a nice contract there to come on over to the States. And he is kind of popping a little bit for the DK slate at 9,400. Again, this is the only site that has him, unless you're playing some of their weird all-day slates. He's 15.1 scoreless innings so far this season. He projects to be in the low to mid 3s for ERA. He projects to be a little bit above average when it comes to strikeouts, and looks like he will probably mitigate power with decent control. So pretty much the kind of standard Japanese pitcher that we see come over from that league, and that league's pretty comparable to AAA. If you guys were wondering about that. Let's see what the Miami lineup is, because I know their best hitters, they have not announced their lineup yet, but their best hitters are
it's out.
Oh, is it? Luis Arias and Jazz Chisholm, but they are not very good in lefty. Do you have any comments you want to highlight from this game that's only on the DraftKings thing?
I do. I'm playing DraftKings tonight. And Monica is Man, I still don't know what to make of him. He's been really good to start the season. He was not good in spring training. He got a lot of Ks, but he got hit a lot. I'm still waiting for the other shoe to drop here. I'm surprised he's not getting more ownership. He is expensive, so maybe that's it. I like some Marlins bats here. They got going late today in the doubleheader. I think that he's going to get hit sooner rather than later, and the Marlins are getting no ownership. I wish he were getting more, but he's still going to be owned. And I'm with you. I think he allows his first runs tonight.
Is there any hitters you fear at all on the Marlins side? Then we can talk a little bit about the Cubbies, and then we'll put this game on the shelf.
Yeah, one guy that's on fire right now, an extra base hit, I believe, in 7 straight games. Brian De La Cruz just hit a go-ahead 2-run home run in the 9th today. He's one of my favorite bats on the slate at 3,700.
Interesting. How many lineups are you rolling out there with this evening?
I'm playing 4, and I like Miami here. Like, it's just the type of slate where it's only 5 games. They're getting such low ownership. I get it. There's like the Braves on this slate, but they're facing a good pitcher. There's Coors on this slate, and I also like the offenses there, which we'll talk about. But you don't have the Dodgers, you don't have the Yankees. Like, they just don't have to beat out as many teams as they normally would.
Righty. Flipping the script here on the other side, we have, of course, Chicago, the home team. They are going against, I think it was Munoz. Yeah, too many tabs open. I was finishing. Roddery Munoz here, kind of a relief pitcher. I'm assuming he got called up as the 26th man today for the double header. It is going to be rather cold in Chicago. It's going to be in the 40s. It's going to be even colder in Coors Field. They had a little bit of sleet and snow yesterday, but looking at the Cubs, you've got up at the top Cody Bellinger. You have Michael Busch, who is getting the cleanup love. You've got a discounted Mike Tauchman, who is batting 6th. He gets the platoon advantage. Those would be the guys I would focus on. And then you've got Nico Horner, lots of contact, not always a lot of power, but a lot of contact. So it's not a bad stack here going against Munoz.
No, it's not. I like both. I like offenses on both sides of this game.
All righty. Now we're going to talk about the other games because that makes it a little more fun. We will first talk about the solo FanDuel game that is only on their slate. That is the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim are in Cincinnati taking on the Reds. You have Patrick Sandoval going on the mound here in the Great American Small Park. Graham Ashcraft on the other side. Sandoval, again, this is the FanDuel only game, 7,200. Ashcraft is 9,500. You've got each team with about a 5 implied run total here. Just not a lot popping from this game. Decent pitchers, but I don't want to roster them in this ballpark. Adequate, but not spectacular offenses. Hard to really recommend stacking. Of course, Cincinnati in play at any time. What do you have for our FanDuel only game here?
I like the offenses more. I mean, the weak pitching options on this slate make it so I guess the pitching options are in play, but nice ballpark upgrade for the Angels. Ashcraft was good against the White Sox, but that's the White Sox. We'll see how he fares today. And then Sandoval can be very hit or miss as well. So I don't love the offenses, but I like them more than the pitchers.
Righty. So those are our two kind of one-off games here. God forbid during the baseball season. We've already seen every site do something different. They do things different for Sunday. Because of the time of the year, Major League Baseball has pushed up a lot of the games into the afternoon, which leads to a bunch of 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, in that 6 o'clock hour games. We're going to see some wonky decision making between the various sites, but that does make for some differentiation, makes for a different puzzle, and occasionally someone will get lost in the mix there, and you can find a little bit of at least reduced rake. That is always important, especially when you're trying to be frugal with your bankroll. Another way you can be frugal with your bankroll is to take advantage of the promotion I'm going to mention here. We've actually got 2 of them. One is the Sims package. So right now, in honor of this is for NBA, the NBA playoffs, you get 50% off your first week of an NBA Sims package. If you come in through the lineup below us here, you use the promo code playoffs. And then the other one is for $1. If you haven't signed up yet for Odd Shopper, you get a whole week for just $1 on Odd Shopper. Same promo code, playoffs. We'll get back to baseball here. We'll talk about the lineup generator. We'll talk about stacks in just a moment here, but I wanted to give out those deals because I think it's important for everybody to take advantage of those. And that's the number one question we get around here. Hey, what kind of deals do you have going on right now? Well, we talk about them all the time, and there are, but we want to make sure everybody's aware of them. Okay, so let's get back here to our pitching. So the guy I like tonight, or the guys I like tonight, would be Corbin Burnes and Cole Ragans, but they're going against each other's respective offenses, which aren't particularly fun. So I kind of like what is going on here with Luis Castillo, Matt, and it's mostly a price thing here. So when we look at Castillo, FanDuel basically said, yeah, we're going to make him a decision point. Now he's in Coors Field. It's going to be cold there. It's in the 40s, like low 40s. We could see a 3 in front of that number, depending on what happens there with the wind, of course. And he is just someone that is a solid pitcher. Castillo, that is, has been a strong performer in his time with the Mariners, and then prior to that with Cincinnati. Screen going back up here. So when we take a peek at him, there's just a 4.3 implied run total. DraftKings is just basically allowing you to preload him as an SP2 at 7,600. FanDuel has him all the way at 9,700. So you can roster him, and you will not have. I don't expect a ton of the field following you. And then on Yahoo, he is $41, and I think he's a very good SP2 there on Yahoo, but not nearly as good on FanDuel. Key things that you want to remember about the Rockies is they're in the bottom third of the league against righties, just with an 88 WRC plus, so they're 12% less efficient at scoring runs than league average. Castillo has a mostly neutral splits when it comes to his 27% strikeout rate, and that's across his last 900 batters. He does give up a little bit of power to lefties, but that's sort of the trade-off for him challenging hitters all the time. And then he's just nails against right-handed pitching. So of course he'll have to deal with the likes of Ryan McMahon, Nolan Jones. They're the 3rd and 6th hitter, and then of course ageless wonder Charlie Blackmon is batting leadoff because he gets the luxury of the designated hitter slot. I don't feel like this is a flag plant making a stand. This is just a good confluence of events here, Matt, to land on Luis Castillo. I'm sure other content is pointing this out as well. Just a really good matchup and price on the 2 pitcher sets.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like a trap, but I'm a huge Castillo guy. He is just way too cheap. He hasn't been nails this season. He's going into Coors. As you mentioned, though, the weather is good, especially for Coors Field, considerations. He's just way too cheap on DK. I have to play Castillo at this price. I just have to.
Yeah, it makes it very simple to go to him. It just does. It's not an overpay. This is one of those. Are we going to feel comfortable? No. Are we hoping for a quality start with maybe 6 strikeouts? Yes. Is that going to be a key performance on the slate? Well, perhaps, because Charlie Morton and Nate Eovaldi are going against their respective offenses. You've got Corbin Burnes, who is phenomenal. He's got a tough matchup against Kansas City. Cole Ragans has likewise a tricky matchup there against the Orioles. And then all of a sudden you're looking at Jose Barrios going against a top-heavy but still dangerous Padres lineup. And then you've got Randy Vasquez going against Toronto. Vasquez, a lot of question marks there. So all of a sudden, it's not that bold of a take to go to Castillo by process of elimination, which is just what makes baseball so fun here. Up at the top, who is your top pitcher? I guess there's 3 other leading candidates here, because it's not going to be 40-year-old Morton. I'm guessing it's not Eovaldi, even though he's had a very solid career. Is it Jose Barrios? Is it Corbin Burnes? Cole Ragans? What do you got for us for your SP2?
It's Castillo. It's my top SP is Castillo, like price considered. I know, like the way you're saying it, he fits into your SP2 spot, but I think Castillo, it's Luis Castillo against the Rockies. I know it's in Coors, but Why couldn't he be the highest scoring pitcher on the slate? He's easily my favorite pitcher at that price. I don't love the ownership, but it is what it is. And then probably Burns. I like the matchup for Burns slightly more than Reagan's, and Rice isn't really an issue today.
All right. What are the bats that just the one-off bats that you worry about in Kansas City and with the Baltimore lineup?
Especially Baltimore. I like Baltimore much more against right-handed pitching, so take that for what it's worth. But Rutschman, Santander, Mountcastle against lefties. I mean, they've got good hitters up and down their lineup.
Do you feel like any home runs can come from this game?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even if both pitchers pitch well, I see home runs because both teams, Adley, Bobby Witt, Salvador Perez. I mean, both teams are loaded with good hitters.
So if we look at, I'm just checking out the top pitchers tool, then we'll just do DraftKings first here because remember the sites are tweaking with the games. So Burns, Cole Reagans, Imanaga, and each have about a 30% chance of being a top 2 pitcher. Charlie Morton sort of straddling the line there at 24%. That's more of a function of it drops off on the bottom side here, but you've got Morton, Castillo, and Berrios, each with around a 20% chance, 1 in 5 chance of being a top 2 pitcher, and then Evaldi, Vasquez, Munoz, Dakota Hudson. We didn't besmirch the good name of Dakota Hudson just yet. We'll talk about him a little more when we get to the bats. He's not really somebody you want to roster as a pitcher, but that's mostly because he just doesn't get strikeouts. He's got a heavy ground ball lean, and he doesn't allow a lot of power. A lot of hard hits, so he can get himself in trouble with gappers there in Coors Field if there are runners on base. So, but the ground ball lead helps to eliminate that a little bit. All right, what about Morton and Evaldi? Any call outs in particular there?
I like those guys enough where I don't really want to stack against them, but not enough where I want to use them in these spots. But Evaldi's interesting to me. No ownership. He's good. This matchup, though, in this ballpark, I mean, I'd rather pay for Castillo against the Rockies. I know the ownership is there, but like I said, I like some Marlins bats, so I'm not really worried about the ownership there.
All right. See, we got some regulars here. Jake Swales, King of the Pirates. He is in the chat. You got Andy Melman, Andy in the AM. Currently, Andy in the early PM here. You've got or the early evening. Larry C. He's in chat. Malakar, Man, Myth, and Malakar in the mix. Bosquat, Rants. A lot of regs here. I like to see this. Apologies if I didn't shout you out, but hello, everybody. Enjoy seeing everybody here. If you guys want to hit the like button, that would help us a lot. And of course, you can always subscribe to the Stochastic YouTube channel. Other thing you want to remember is we have a whole suite of podcast channels. Pretty much anything that is a strategy show or not a live before lock, that is going to go out on one of our podcast feeds. We have the main Stochastic podcast channel, and then we have baseball, basketball, and NHL have their own channels. Additionally, we have the Odd Chopper podcast channel where a lot of content is going out, and they also have over $100,000 or $100,000. People winning $100,000 on sports wagering. They have over 100,000 subscribers over there on the Odd Chopper channel. Okay, turning our attention to FanDuel for a moment here, because we only roster one pitcher, and Castillo, that is not really considered a discount like he is on DraftKings and on Yahoo. Up at the top, Corbin Burns has just a 14% chance of being the top pitcher. Reagan's 13, Charlie Morton 11, Jose Berrios 10, Castillo 10, Patrick Sandoval 10, Graham Ashcraft 10. Guess what? There's a lot of ways you can go at pitcher here on FanDuel. I assume you're just doing DK tonight, or are you doing the blue side as well?
Just DK. Funny you say that. I haven't played a ton of FanDuel lately, just haven't been in the groove. But yesterday, I really loved the Colorado-Seattle game, and I just couldn't find ways I like to stack it on DK. So I ended up playing a lot on FanDuel, but then I ended up not playing a lot on FanDuel because that game got postponed. So I was glad that happened early because I withdrew all my contests and just ended up playing on DK.
Good. Yeah, the one nice thing is they pulled the plug on that one quickly, and then so the doubleheader for that is going to be tomorrow for that makeup game. So that will be tomorrow's.
I was very happy they pulled the trigger early because it was. I did a show with Greg from 5 to 6, and it was like right before our show. And if it had been like during our show, the contest might have been filled. It just would have been a you know what.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm going to kind of pivot on this question here. Dwayne, it says, hey, Mac, with Reagans and Burns being sort of chalky, do you think it's wise to flip the build and go to the hitters in Kansas City and Baltimore? Maybe some one-offs, maybe some two-mans. The meltdown for Corbin Burns, I think, is less likely. The high upside, and I don't think that's very likely either. He's kind of going to be in that. He could get a quality start. I think a bad outing for him today would be like 5 innings, 4 earned runs, 2 home runs allowed. If you see an interesting thing, and people forget this a lot, when you go see those teams, I should have stacked the Mariners tonight. They scored 9 runs. And then you go look and they had 2 doubles. That does not make a stack. You need extra base hits. You need the RBIs, and extra base hits where you really need home runs to make it work. And that's something that's kind of interesting because you're like, hey, I nailed that. I got that right. I told everybody, stack this team. And then I go look and say, how many extra base hits did they had? Well, I better not victory lap anything, right? You learn a lot of hubris here when you are putting your picks out for everybody to see. But that is something that you want to keep in mind. I like the thoughts. I like the way you're going. I would probably take the Baltimore side here. But again, they're sort of in a situation where a bad outing for Reagans could end up in just only 6 or 7 runs. Is it really worth that? Is it worth that 1 in 8 chance of that happening tonight? Perhaps. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's just the likelihood, I think, is a little tougher tonight to get there. On that.
I mean, Reagans is more owned than Burns. I like Burns more. I'm not even a huge Burns guy, to be honest. Like, I don't play him that much. I know he's good. I don't think he's as good as the masses, just personally. But tonight, and I don't even love the matchup, but it's just you look at the other options, and I'd much rather face Kansas City than Baltimore, personally. Against a lefty, it makes it closer, but still.
Yeah. And this is where the top pitchers tool comes into play. So if we look specifically on FanDuel, you can see Reagans is, we mentioned he has about a 14% chance of being the top pitcher of the night. It's very even up at the top with with 8 of the 10 guys being around 10 to 14%. He's double that for ownership. He's up around 25%. So that means he's twice as owned as possible. This is where your leverage can come into play. Don't play Reagans. Play the 2 best hitters, the 2 guys you think have the best chance of getting a home run against Reagans. That's where you get your leverage. Perhaps not a full stack, not a full meltdown, but then you end up with the home runs, right?
Yeah, and Greg talks about this a lot on FanDuel. I know he's getting some ownership, but as you talked about, Reagans is 25% owned. Burns is 10% owned. There's a lot of equity in the win on FanDuel. So playing Burns offers a lot of leverage here.
Yes, and the quality start. That's something that's very crucial on FanDuel. So that's where we get real nervous about Evaldi, obviously Dakota Hudson, even Barrios a little bit, Charlie Morton to a certain extent. If he's not getting the ground ball outs, they may not get that quality start. Now that all you need for not all, but you need for a quality start 6 complete innings, and you can allow 3 runs. That's the quality start. And we see with tie games and people coming out in the 5th or just getting into the 6th inning, it's getting harder and harder for people to get quality starts. So now seeing a pitcher with 20 quality starts is close to what it'd be when we'd have 20 wins, because it's very hard to get to 20 wins these days with the way the game has evolved. So it's a better measure. I like that stat. I think it makes it fun to play over there on FanDuel. I wish Yahoo had it just to tweak things on their side as well. But it's with the 2 pitchers that different milestone metric could really upset the delicate balance they've achieved with their scoring. But it's one of those things that you always want to think about because you want to eke these points out wherever you can. Any thoughts you want to hand out on Barrios at all He's the kind of our odd man out here.
Yeah, no, he's been good this year, and he's kind of like Eovaldi and Morton to me. Morton, I think, would be the least favorite of the bunch for me. I don't love the matchup for Barrios, and he's more expensive than he'd been, but fine with it. I don't think he's a bad play at all.
All right. So are we ready to talk some hitters? Some offense?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right. Well, we can't talk offense without talking Coors Field. Again, it's going to be cold there. The same weather that we offered up, making things good there for Luis Castillo also will help out Dakota Hudson, right? So that is one thing to consider. Another thing to consider is the Mariners striking out 30% of the time this season against righties. They have who is it? Dominic. I can't remember his last name. The Italian last name. Hands-on. Anyway, he's out. I wanted to see who started their lineup because so Jonathan Clace. So he's a rookie. He's up contact, getting on base, a little bit of a challenge. He has stolen like almost 100 bases at the last 2 seasons in the minor leagues. So if he gets on, he's running, right? Well, he can get on against a guy that has a lot of contact, right? He could get on via a fielder's choice. Once he's on base, he's live for a stolen base. So even if he doesn't get a hit or a walk, if he ends up on base, I think he's going to be running tonight. So I think he's someone who's very interesting. The rest of the lineup, the only terrifying hitter there is Julio Rodriguez. That's still not enough for us to get to Dakota Hudson, just because there's enough other players that are in decent but not great matchups. Why would we go to a pitcher who has absolutely no strikeout upside whatsoever and doesn't really offer the salary savings that it makes things enticing? So let's call up Hudson's numbers here.
You do it just because it's a 5-game slate.
Yes. And at that point now we're the 150 maxers, which I think is perfectly fine to go there. Mix him a little bit as your SP2, but that just it's hard to get excited about him. So since the beginning of the 2022 season, he has almost 240 innings. He's got a 52% ground ball rate and just a 7.72 home runs per 9 innings. That's very, very low. Hardly has any strikeouts. He has in this time frame just 5 strikeouts per 9 innings. That's hardly any at all. I think some of the sites had him at -3, or you had under 3.5 today, and I think that's a decent wager. It was not at plus money. The other thing that happens with him is he has a 42% hard hit rate. It'll be interesting to see how it plays in Coors Field, right? Because it's more spacious outfield, etc. If they're hitting it where they ain't, and he's got runners on base, he's going to get in trouble. But otherwise, he's just, he's a rally killer by himself because he gets so many ground balls that can lead to double plays. It can lead to weak contact, right? It's just sticking stopping everybody before they get to second. And that's not very helpful. He doesn't have the fantasy upside there, but he could crush the Seattle hopes and dreams, which is where I think looking towards the back part of the Seattle lineup with Clace, with Cal Raleigh, I'm assuming Ty France is in that lineup as well towards the back. Yeah, Mitch Garver. Garver and Raleigh are going to bounce around with DH duties and catching duties here. So I think people when they stack, are going to go with Crawford, Rodriguez, Polanco, probably Haniger. I like the guys after that for your differentiation, just because we're trying to do things a little bit different here. I think duos are fine. I don't think you have to go overboard much more than that, because we're talking about the upside of a stolen base, perhaps a double with somebody on board, right? We're not seeing a very high probability of a crooked numbers here, even though the Mariners have a 5.6 implied run total. I just don't see them getting to that lofty of a total regularly, Matt. Just with the weather, the wind blowing in at 8 to 10 miles an hour, it's going to be in the low 40s, upper 30s. It's just not fun tonight. Not fun at all.
Sounds like you should bet the under. I don't know. I'm kind of with you, but I like Seattle a lot here, and the ownership will be there, especially in the higher dollar stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's Dakota Hudson in Coors. Big ballpark upgrade for Seattle here. This lineup has really struggled. Hudson is a nice get-right spot for them. Again, I'm not too worried about ownership because I like Miami paired with them, and Miami's not getting any ownership, so there's that. I do think that they're the one team you have to worry about ownership here. And I'm with you. The bottom of that lineup, Clase, Garver, Josh Rojas. These guys are going to be a lot less owned in the top of the lineup. So I think that's a great way to get exposure without sacrificing any upside. Well, you're sacrificing upside, but you're also gaining a lot in ownership. So I'm with that call.
All right. For those of you looking for a little overlay, FanDuel locks in 8 minutes. Probably going to be a little bit of room in their quarter and their nickel if you want to test out a little 150 maxing. That would be one way of doing it. I'm gonna hop on over there and just enter a placeholder lineup, and then I will worry about building out something afterwards. I will skip the first game, but I wanted to give the Sims a shot over here on FanDuel, and I have not really had a chance. So I'm going to take that opportunity tonight. So let me get that in real quick. What is your favorite stack tonight?
Seattle, and Seattle's my favorite overall stack, and then Miami's my favorite contrarian stack.
Okay, talk to us a little bit about Miami here, because we I mentioned Imanaga here. We just got that Miami lineup officially. What makes you want to go against Imanaga?
So they got going again late this afternoon in that day game. It's a team that hasn't been great this year, but there's still a lot of unknown in Imanaga. So yeah, I mean, Miami isn't the most likely team to succeed here, but a 7% chance of being the top stack on the board, 6% ownership. Same top stack percentage as Baltimore, much less ownership. And again, I'm waiting on the other shoe to drop with Imanaga. So yeah, I think it's a risky but worthy stack on a small slate against an unknown pitcher.
Alrighty, what do you have for us here outside of those? Any other call outs? So who do you feel you might be left at the train station wishing you had bought a ticket with for the other stacks?
The Cubs for sure. You talked about Munoz. He's been bad, so I could see the Cubs breaking this slate. And then I don't love them, but Castillo hasn't been great this year. So the Rockies, I could see being really good if Castillo is off and they're not going to get ownership. But I think the Cubs, to answer your question.
All right, let's see what else I have to call out here on the stack side of things. Back to my notes here. So we talked about the Mariners, talked about the late slate there. I mean, I guess we gotta talk about Atlanta if we're gonna talk about anybody. So Ozzie Albies out yet again, another freak accident. T McBee, I'm sure, is laughing at me in our dynasty league because I had inherited the team that had Ozzie Albies, and he just keeps getting hurt every year. He's the cornerstone of my dynasty squad, and it's not been pretty. But that has moved Michael Harris II up in the order finally. He's not going to get leadoff duties as long as Ronald Acuna is around, but this gives Harris another chance to cement himself as one of the better young hitters in the game. You've got Riley and Olsen and Ozuna in there. They're all pretty good. Evaldi, solid pitcher, right? We got a lot of solid pitchers tonight, a lot of former front end pitchers here. So if you go back at the long and storied career there for Evaldi, he's been pretty good almost every season of his career. He started back in 2011. Matt, you know what also started in 2011? DraftKings DFS. A long time ago. So Evaldi's been around as long as DraftKings here. Is that good? Is that bad? I don't know, but he has a 50% hard contact rate. If he doesn't walk a lot of players, but if he is giving up those hits when they are on base, that's when he melts down. And this is a tough lineup here. I see Travis d'Arnaud got into the lineup. He hit 3 home runs last night on that evening slate, in case anybody missed it. He has 4 on the year, but he's up there now that Sean Murphy is on the injured list, which means we probably get Chadwick Trump, but that's tomorrow's problem, not today's problem. And then you've got former Mariner prospect who flamed out in spectacular fashion, Jared Kelenic. He's the contact is kind of there. It looks like maybe a clean slate is helping a little bit. The power should follow, but he is someone I think you want to give some consideration to, especially at 2,500 on FanDuel. That would sort of be my I guess preferred stack is Atlanta. Again, it's hard to plant flags here just because the everybody all of our available options are rather similar tonight. We're embracing variance tonight, except it's less chaos, and it's just like, who's going to have a good game?
I don't love Atlanta because I respect Eovaldi, but it's Atlanta on a smaller slate. They're not going to be overly owned. I mean, I will never argue with anyone who wants to play them any slate, especially one like this. So I don't
Alrighty.
hate it at all.
Let's see what else we have. We're going to go for about another 10 minutes here. We got producer Mike pulling double duties. He's got to get on out to his third job because, you know, he's a man that never stops working. He loves those paychecks, he likes to collect them. Collect. Well, his wife likes him to collect. And then, of course, you know, you've got the Phillies, or the 76ers, sorry, that are on the board right now. If anybody has any questions, go ahead and put those into chat. We will answer those. I talked about the up to $500 deposit match on Sleeper that is available in the YouTube description below us here. I will drop that landing page into the YouTube chat as well. We talked about how you could get Odd Shopper for just $1 by using promo code playoffs. And we talked about how you could get the NBA Sims 1 week for 50% off by using the promo code playoffs. And that's 1 week for Odd Shopper as well. We got the Sims. Mike, do you want to do a quick screen share on Sims, and then we can do home run picks, and we'll slide on out of here? Does that work for you, producer Mike? I'm assuming he's giving me a thumbs up because that's what producer Mike does. There you go. So I'm going to slide on over here because the lineup generator, that's the easy discounted way of getting here into Stochastic. The key thing with that, it's at a very affordable price point. It's sort of like Sims Lite. The fun thing is it's for DraftKings and FanDuel. It's for the main slates for baseball. When we get there, you click on either side. I just happen to be clicking on FanDuel. You can choose your stack type next. You get the 4-4, 4-3-1, 4-2-2. DK, you can go 5-3, 4-4, 5-0, and I think 4-3. I think it's, or 5-3 is the other one. You can pick chalky, you can pick balance, you can pick contrarian, you can lock in a pitcher, which is always helpful. We can lock in, you mentioned Corbin Burns here on looking on FanDuel. We'll go with that, and then it will build out lineups for you. You can build out up to 20 lineups, put those in the holding pen and see what you like here. If a lineup pops up and you're not a fan of it, get rid of it. But I know the game already locked, but we'll put these in here. It's very high on the Angels and the Mariners in this one. So we build out our 20 lineups. We can go look at those and check out our portfolio, right? So to the left shows all your saved lineups. To the right, you can see the ownership and who's on the different lineups. If you click on someone, it highlights their lineups and brings them up to the top. You can then use the drop down to see what's in those lineups. Say you had the perfect lineup, yet somehow you ended up with Wyatt Langford in the lineup and you didn't want him in there. You can click on him. It'll bring up the rest of the player pool and you can replace him. You got to do a little math in your head to figure that one out. I'm sure they will be adding that as a feature, but you can swap him out for someone of a similar price point rather easily. Let's just bump him for Jackson Merrill, just as for what I'm doing here, and then it saves that lineup. You don't like those lineups, punch out some of those, get them out of there, build up to 20, download them. You can build another 20, etc., etc. But it's a lot of fun. It's built on the same engines and tools as the Sims, the Boom Bust tool, the projections, the Top Stack tool. All of that stuff goes into here, gets rid of the crappier lineups, and is just putting positive expected value lineups up there. They still got to come through for you, but it's eliminating all those junky lineups that a lot of folks end up building when they're doing a lot of lineups. But if you want something quick, come on in, throw in a handful of lineups, have a little something to sweat after the kids have gone to bed. The lineup generator is the excellent tool for you guys to use. What do you have for home run calls?
I'm going to go really, really off the board here, but why not? Because we're having fun. Emmanuel Rivera.
Ooh. Okay. I like that. I like that a lot. You know what? I'm gonna stick in that vein as well. I'm gonna go a little off the board. Dalton Varsho.
Love that.
Varsho. Batting fifth tonight. Does have the platoon advantage. A few question marks we have there about Vasquez. Don't know a ton about him. He's it's probably going to end up being kind of a bullpen game there. But Vasquez, let's go look and see. Since the beginning of last year, he hasn't pitched yet this year in the show. He had 166 batters faced. He has marginal strikeout rates, just 12% against lefties, incredibly low. He has a 10% walk rate across the board, a little higher to righties, but that's not good. Allows power to lefties. This is lining up pretty good. Light on the ground balls, heavy on the fly balls. Here we go, baby. Little Dalton Varsho off the board play. Any other thoughts you would like to impart here with our viewers before we get on out of here?
I just gotta say, I know he's gonna be popular, but man, it's really hard for me to get away from Julio Rodriguez here. And no bat is ever a must bat on the slate, but he started the season so poorly and has been really good lately. And he's definitely a notoriously streaky guy, and he's streaking up right now. Doesn't mean anything for tonight, but really hard for me to get away from him. That's all I gotta say.
All right. Oh, one call out here. COVID Bryant in Discord wants to know, why is it that you are on the Marlins? And then we'll sign off after you.
So a couple reasons. I think there's still a lot of unknown in the Cubs starter here. He was okay during spring training, had a lot of strikeouts, but also got hit. He's been much better during the regular season. But again, I think there's a lot of unknown here. I like the momentum and confidence boost the Marlins got from winning that game late today. And the main thing, they're the least owned team on the entire slate. So 5-game slate. I like getting different. I like Seattle. They're a good team to pair with Seattle.
All right. There you guys have it. So thank you guys. Appreciate it. Any questions? I'll be bouncing around over there in playback tonight, and we can have some fun there. Oh, I see. I didn't even put myself into playback. What an idiot. What a dork I am. That's all right. But you guys can go over there and watch the games. Greg will be popping in. I'm sure he'll be dispersing some of the MVP or the VIP things around there. And it's 20-15 right now, Philadelphia in the league. So thank you to producer Mike for getting us squared away here. We, of course, have the MLB live before lock. It'll be at 11 tomorrow. 12 o'clock will be the NBA live before lock, and we're going to have some fun this weekend. A lot of baseball left tonight, a lot of basketball as we embark on day one of the playoffs, and we have all the content and projections and tools and everything you need to do well in DFS here at Stochastic. So you guys follow Matt over there on Twitter at Fantasy Tips Matt. You can find me at EMac DFS, and of course it is Stochastic_COM. With that, gamers, good luck.